12 of us right now. All right, y'all ain't doing this to me. Let's get up. Come up. Come up. Come on. Come on. Come on. I see you. I see you. I'm gonna be calling out names. Come on. I want us to feel the unity, being together. It's a beautiful thing. Come on now. All right. It's like the most embarrassing I get. Usually I embarrass myself, so you guys just deal with it, okay? Okay. So, this series for me has been really important, and I want to share why. I think that one of the hardest things to do in our lives, and I've said this multiple times through this process, the hardest thing for us to do is to be present where we are. It's so easy to be obsessed with what comes next, because what comes next is always better than what is. And that's not the case. You know, it's so funny because we do this in life constantly, right? Where we're always looking forward to the next thing and why that's the best thing there ever was. And then what do we do in the meantime? We're like, oh, do you remember when? Like everyone says, do you remember when I was in my 20s and I could eat anything I wanted and I didn't gain any weight? Okay, yeah, I've been there. I know what that is, right? You know, or we say things like, do you remember nap time? When there was a designated time to nap? Gosh, I miss nap time. If you ask Isaac, my son, about nap time, it is not nap time. It is what we call a steel cage death match in our house, okay? Where he is insistent not to go to bed, throwing elbows all over the place. No, bad daddy, go away. This is nap time in our house. I wish he was nicer. So funny. But we're always in this season of tomorrow will be better, and then when tomorrow comes, yesterday was the best. Which one is it, guys? Which one is it? And that's why this series meant so much to me, because I don't think there's a better day than today. I don't. Not because of what happened today. Actually, today was a pain in the butt. Lots of horrible things and annoying things happened today, right? Because today we dealt with X or Y or Z or A, B, C, and we didn't care about any of it. We didn't want an alphabet. We wanted numbers, and we got an alphabet, right? It doesn't matter. But the fact that we're here today, it's a day that God has something special in store for us to transform us, to make our lives different than they were, to help us become who we need to be tomorrow. That's why this is so important. And in the book of Ephesians, you know, just to start kind of where we've been, sorry, not Ephesians, Ecclesiastes. I'm like going past it and then wondering why I'm confused. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, okay? There is a time for everything in our lives. And so we did this series because we wanted to be clear that there is a season, and this is your season. This is your season. What are you supposed to benefit today? What are you supposed to benefit in this season in your life? And so the hope and belief is that by the end of this, we understand why we need to live this life presently, why we need to be present in this life today. Okay? And that was the purpose of every single season. So we started with the fall, right? And the fall was about discontent and how we need to choose gratitude in our lives to say, I am thankful for where I am, because where I am has a purpose in my life. I don't know what it is, but I'm thankful that I'm here, because if God brought me to it, then he brings me through it, right? So that's the first thing. And then we went to the winter, and Abu Nabulas gave us a beautiful lecture about the importance of the song of suffering and how in our lives there is joy in our suffering, not because it's awesome to get rocked or to have your heart broken or to get rejected from the school of your dreams or to have a friend stab you in the back, but because when I accept my suffering, I have chosen joy. And I say, God uses what breaks me to show me I am not broken, merely bent. And when I am bent, then I can be pointed toward him. And last week, we talked about, well, what's the benefit, right? What is the benefit of living presently? And if we didn't live, like, what do you gain by being here, right, today? And so what we talked about was the importance of learning how everything is a message for us. The importance of laughter, how if we choose to be present, then we find the laughter and the joy in everything. Even if it's not funny to us, it's funny to God. Because you're like, oh my God, he broke up with me. I didn't get into the school. I just don't know how I'm going to make it. And he's like, idiot, you're going to be fine. It's going to be cool. Don't worry. You'll be just fine. Right? That's how God is. And so we choose laughter. And then when we're present in our moment, what's the benefit? We are led to the next moment. Because now when I decide I'm going to focus on today, what we don't realize is God says, great, come here. Let me take you. Let me show you where you're going next. This is the amazing benefit and blessing of our season. Okay? So it doesn't matter what you're going through. If there's an illness, a family problem, if there's a relationship issue, if there's a school issue, if there's a problem that you don't know how to solve in your spiritual life, the benefit of being present every day, paying attention to my moment, and making the most of it, is I see God in those moments. And when I see God, I am saved by God. I am strengthened by God because I am seen by God. Okay? So today is the final of these talks. And what we're going to talk about is the summer. And the summer is about the life worth living. The life worth living. Okay. So we talked about the 3 other seasons. Let's talk about summer for a second. Okay. I will tell you guys something I learned when I came to Orange County. Okay. My wife is a psychologist, and she told me, Abuna, one of the interesting things about Orange County is there's something called seasonal depression. I'm like, excuse me? She's like, yes. People are depressed seasonally. I'm like, oh, so you're telling me that they fall into a depressive state for 3 to 4 months and then get out of it? And she's like, yeah, it's pretty common. I'm like, why? And they're like, the weather. So I'm all like, okay, we've been talking for years about how important depression is and how it's a serious ailment and we have to take care of people, and you're telling me that in Orange County, it's seasonal. Yeah. I'm like, Tayyib, okay, well, welcome to the land of privilege, right? Whatever. What are you going to do? I ain't mad about it. Less sad confessions. It's cool. It works. It's good. Actually, I don't. Doesn't change the confessions. I'm just kidding. But so I thought about this, and I asked her, when is it obviously peaking? And she says in the winter, between about November and February. That's when it peaks, because that's when it's a little rainier. That's when it's colder. That's when, even if it's sunny, it's not sunny the whole day. It's cloudy. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like listening to this, and this is a very serious conversation. Okay, whatever this is, it is. But the point is, something about the weather makes us kind of miserable, right? You know, I grew up on the East Coast, and in New York, when it would snow or it would rain, you stay home. And when you're home, what do? You cuddle up in your bed, and you watch your TV, and you want mom to make you your favorite food, whatever you want, right? Because it's your thing, or maybe you want a pizza, and that's like gonna bring you joy, right? Whatever it is. But you just snuggle up, right? And you're lazy. You don't do anything. But when the summer comes, oh man, it's on. I love it. Like here in Orange County, like I love the summer. And summer really kicks off from almost like April, right? But it's just almost every day is sunny. People are in a good mood. Everybody's outside. It's like this magical place. It's like all of Orange County is Disney. This is wonderful. Then you go to Los Angeles and not so much. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a bad joke. Just shout out to those in LA. I love K-Town. It's awesome. Anyway. My point is, the summer is a season that usually brings joy. It's a season that brings joy because as young people, that's usually when we're off, unless we're taking a summer class and because we like to abuse ourselves. But that's when we do retreats. That's when there's activities. That's when there's mission trips. That's when there's all those activities. Most of the most exciting things that happen to you in your life happen in the summer. You go on these big, crazy vacations. I've had a few of my sons and daughters in confession that told me, oh, I did backpacking in Europe. I did 3 weeks in Egypt. I did, I did a cruise for 2 weeks. Like, everybody does the fun stuff in the summer. So the summer has this joy associated with it, right? And also, the weather is better. The weather is better. One of the things that I hated about being on the East Coast is the summers, while they were amazing, it's humid. And like gross humid. Like when I went to school in Florida, if I had to leave my dorm to go to my class, it's like a 10-minute walk. I'm sweating by the second minute. And by the time I got there, I took a bath on the way. I didn't even know what happened. It's called humidity, okay? Come to Orange County, it's not really that big of a deal. When I lived in Phoenix, same thing, barely a deal. Dry heat, that's the first time I'd ever heard the term. Why am I telling you about weather? Why does this matter? Because when we have overcome or fought against discontent with gratitude, when we see and conceptualize suffering for what it is, which is an opportunity to grow and to choose joy. And when we realize the benefits of being present, then we step into our summer season. Okay? And what is the summer season? What happens in summer out here in OC, in addition to all the nice things I talked about? Santa Ana winds, brush fire, right? Fire is pretty easy to pick up. Those fires, we're very nervous about those fires because when they start, they're hard to stop. Welcome to the power of the summer season, that if you do all those other things I just talked about, choosing gratitude, finding the joy in the suffering, choosing to be present in your season, now the Holy Spirit is starting to become on fire in me. And it's this brush fire that is not going away. And the world comes with their water and their cans and they try to dump it on you, right? And they're like, okay, now that you're on fire and you know how to be present, I'm going to dump a boy in your life. I'm going to dump a girl in your life. I'm going to dump a problem in your family. I'm going to dump this. I'm going to dump that. But guess what? Your fire's not going out. Your fire's not going out. Why? Because it's contagious. It's contagious. Your fire touches other people and inflames them. So what happens in our best season, in our summer season, is that because we've chosen to be mindful, because we've accepted suffering and we've accepted how to be grateful, now we really start to feel God working inside of us. And people have heard me say this before, God's working in you. Abuna, how do I know God's working in me? It's a good question. Sorry I mocked it. It's a good question. Knowing that God's working in you is not like a light bulb that goes off in your head. Like, oh, that was God. I had somebody ask me a question last week about that. They were like, how do I know if something is a God-led thought or it's a me thought? And I'm like, why are they different? If you're in your season and you're present, you and God are on this, you're love locked. You're going in the same places together. Ain't nobody getting disconnected here. You understand? And so this season is about being on fire. And what we're going to meditate on tonight in the life worth living is we're going to meditate on how do we know that we're in our summer season? How do we know? What are the characteristics or the tells of a summer season? Okay? So the first thing that is a tell of the summer season is empathy. What is empathy? Someone tell me, what is empathy? Feeling other people's pain. Okay. What do you mean by feeling their pain? Okay. Sorry, I'm going to ask another clarifying question. What does understanding mean to you? Do you understand my suffering? Okay, but I want to challenge you now. Do you understand my suffering? Even if you've gone through the same exact thing as me, do you understand my suffering? What do you got? Okay, we take it in a different way. What else? What else? Anybody? The wording's hard. Absolutely. There it is. Okay? This is the key. Empathy is compassion. See, we have to be careful because sympathy is feeling bad for somebody, which is not wrong, right? But when you are compassionate, you are understanding. It does not mean you understand different things. If I understand, go ahead. You have a question? There we go. Yep, awesome. Putting yourself in their shoes. So when we actually are empathetic people, what we're doing is we're like, okay, even if you and I went through the same exact thing, I have no idea how you received it, how you suffered through it, but I know this is hard. And I know this hurts. And I can't fix it because I'm not you. But I can be present with you while you fix it. What's the key term? I am present. How do I know I'm on fire? My empathy is there. I am able to be present in other people's suffering. One of the things, guys, sorry to tell you, it's a guilty thing that all of us do. When you see someone that's having a crappy day, and you're, my day's awesome, everything's great, or oh my gosh, I can't have another thing happen. And you see somebody with their dumpster fire of a problem, and you're like, hi, you're gonna keep trying to go, okay, maybe you didn't see me, right? That was a lot of fast moving for the leg. I gotta be careful to fall over. But what is the answer? We run away from it. We run away from pain. Because as human beings, we're conditioned not to want to suffer anyways. So why am I going to take your suffering? Or even if I do, this is the one, honestly, sometimes I don't know if it's better to walk away or to do, or which one's worse, to walk away or do this. God be with you, God be with you, God be with you, it'll be fine, it's okay, God be with you. Listen, don't inshallah and Rabbina ma'aik me all the way to the, to wherever. That's not going to get us there. If we're really, honestly, truly empathetic people, I'm going to look at you and say, Moses, I am really sorry that's happening. I cannot begin to understand a day in your shoes, but I am telling you I'm with you. I'm telling you I'm praying for you. I'm telling you I'm thinking about you. Anything I can do, please tell me. And then we say, great, we did our job. But the empathetic people, the ones that follow up. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Whenever somebody says, pray for me, I have a big exam, I have a big interview, I have a big challenge in my life, we say, God be with you, right? How many people text later and say, how did that go? How many people check in later? Right? Why does that matter? You have humanized the person in front of you. You have been present in their moment and understood their pain, their worries, their anxieties. And that's what makes you on fire. Because that was Christ. That was Christ. To every person what they needed. His gaze was enough to pierce your heart, that he saw your soul. His words were always encouraging and uplifting. For us as Christians, do not shy away from the life of understanding to others. Public confession, that's one of the hardest things in the world for me, because I struggle with grief. It's hard for me to process it, because I have to tell a dumb joke. It's like wired in me. But I work at it constantly. Why? Because I understand that if we don't get this right, we are selling our relationship with God short. We're selling it short. We're not giving others what they need, and we're not getting what we need. Because remember, every time you give, what happens? You take. You take. As you give to God, or as you give to others, God gives to you. He fills you. And so you become more confident to be present in other people's moments and be there for them as they struggle and suffer. And this makes you more like Christ, because you see others the way he sees them. Now I'm on fire. Now my heat is radiating, and it becomes warmth for those who have been left in the cold by the worst thing in the world: to be forgotten, to be misunderstood. Why do we have these problems with LGBTQ and gender identity and all this stuff today? Because people misunderstand. Now, don't get me wrong. Wrong is wrong, and sin is sin. But if we take a moment to understand someone's pain, to understand someone's struggling, to sit in the hard things, imagine the conversations we would have. Imagine the compassion we would have to one another. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, one of the things I love about this chapter is verse 3. It's a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. That means there is a time for empathy. There is a time for empathy. And my brothers and sisters, the time is now. The time is now. Someone in your life needs you to remember them. Someone in your life needs you to ask about them. Someone in your life doesn't need you to fix it, but to feel it. That's what they need. Just like one day, you're going to need somebody to feel it, not to fix it. Someone to connect, not to correct. That's what you need. That's what you're looking for. All of us are. So the first way we know we're on fire, that we're in this summer season, is exactly that we have the spirit of empathy. You want to know, am I in a season where I am present every day? I'm thinking about others. I'm empathizing with them, understanding their struggles, their suffering. All right, number 2. Y'all gonna love me tonight. The second way that we know we are on fire and we are present in our season is that we choose the life of forgiveness. The life of forgiveness. Okay, I've heard story after story after story of this, but I'm going to share a cliche story for the sake of sharing a cliche story. Brother and sister don't get along from the time they were kids. Butt heads all the time, argue this, that, blah, 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 don't like each other. They get older. They both get married. Everybody smiles at the weddings. But there's still something there. And now what happens? Now we've included spouses. And who's a spouse loyal to? Their spouse, right? So then what happens? Someone gets pregnant. Someone else gets pregnant. Baby shower scheduled on the same day. Who's going to budge? Nobody. What is it? What happens? Massive blowout. The parents say, over a baby shower? Is that the answer? Years and years and years of resentment building up. And they come out. And what happens? Siblings stop talking. Parents understand that if they try to fix it, then they lose both of them. So they stop fixing it. and they keep acting like they have one child every time they talk to the other one. Fast forward 10 more years. Dad has cancer. What happens? Did the siblings talk? No. Dad dies. Who's at the funeral? Both siblings. What do? They look at each other in silence and sob. Not only have they not spoken in years over pride, nothing else called. Parents never want to see you fight. Why? Because they worry about this scenario. That you'll do something and go somewhere that you can't come back from. And then because young blood is always hotter than old blood, you'll dig your heels in because you have to be right. Tell me what kind of redeeming of the time it is when I live a life without forgiveness. Tell me. Now remember I said forgiveness, not reconciliation. We've talked about this 1,000 times. We'll talk about it again. Forgiveness is to let go of the burden and what somebody owes you. Reconciliation is to let it go back to normal. You don't have to let it go back to normal. But you want to know if you're present or not? What do you know? If you're present, then you realize today might be the last day I have. I'm not going to be dramatic, not that you die. But it might be the last day they live. That's still dramatic, I know. But it might be the last time you see them before they move cross-country. It might be the last time you get to be siblings or friends before that person gets married and then starts a whole new life, and that relationship changes by default. And there are still things that are unspoken, unsaid. And everyone suffers. One of the biggest mistakes we make is that we insist to be right and we don't allow ourselves to be happy. I've said it 1,000,000 times. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? If you want to be happy, choose forgiveness. Understand that people are people, and things are things, and flaws are flaws, and sins are sins. People will always let you down. Newsflash, your spouse, who you think is everything, will let you down. Your kid, who looks you in the eye and says, I love you more than anything, will tell you in 6 years, you smell bad, walk away, I never want to see you again. My kid doesn't say that to me yet because he doesn't know all those words, but it's coming, I know, okay? But you will see that people will let you down. Your best friend for 10 years will do something in 5 that will upset you for 15, okay? People let you down, but when God is with you, they don't put you in the ground. They just let you down, and then you get back up. But you have to be present. This moment is the only moment I may have to have the conversation I need to have to move past this. Today might be the only day that I get a chance to show them the light of Christ. Many times, understand that forgiveness is not for you. It's to heal the other person too. Because whether we admit it or not, most of the people in our lives who do stupid things to us, that don't do awesome things to us, they don't get excited. They're like, oh, I cannot wait to ruin Michael's life today. Oh, this is going to be awesome. No. They feel like crap that they did it too. And you might give them the only release that they're going to get. That doesn't mean that you've released them from learning, from growing, but you've released them from hating themselves, from spiraling. This sounds simple, and yet we don't do it, okay? The awkwardness, and you feel it in a room. You go in a room and people that have known each other for 5 years are, hi, yeah, nice to see you, hi. Come on, man. What are you gaining? Do you feel good about being right? You feel like you're winning? Sticking it to them? It's just like when you argue and you say all the horrible things that are inside of you and you feel good, yeah, take that. And then you're like, I don't believe I said that. Even if they deserved it. All right? I'm getting a taste of that with Isaac now. He'll say something mean like, go away, Daddy. And I'll be like, Isaac, that's not nice. You hurt Daddy's feelings. You can see in the moment he was like, no, you need to go away. You need to take a walk. You're a bad daddy. And then he's like, nah, I guess not. That's not. Maybe you're not as bad as I think you are. Like, you don't know me yet, but that's fine. And what's the point? Is kids are the example of being able to catch themselves in the moment and let go. But we have our moment and then we hold on. No, I need to stay upset. No, that person needs to come and ask me for forgiveness. They need to apologize first. By the way, if you bring that into your marriage, don't come bring your marriage to me one day. I ain't dealing with it. That doesn't work, okay? Don't. You need to apologize to me first. Man, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? No. When you are moved in your heart, when you want God to work, you're going to do it. When you're on fire, remember what I said. You humanize people, right? Not demonize them. And not deify them. You don't make them to be God where they have to get it all right. And you don't call them a monster for getting it wrong. You say you're a person and you screwed up. And maybe we're not going to be as close anymore, but I'm not going to hold on to this because I know that I'm going to make a mistake one day too. And I'm probably going to let someone down just as bad as you let me down. It may not be you, it's probably going to be somebody else. That's how we change. That's how we change. That's how we grow. And that's how you know you're present and you're in the moment. Is these things go through your mind. As you're struggling with someone, as you're wrestling with a problem. Is you say, what's the quickest way to reconciliation? What's the quickest way to forgiveness? What's it going to take to get to the finish line of forgiveness? That's where we go with this. That's what this means. That's what this whole thing is about. So you want to know if you're on fire with God? That you've learned to cherish the moment? You have a spirit of forgiveness. You are ready, willing, and able to find a way to the finish line, to finish the problem and to move forward. In the book of Second Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14, right? Tell me Abuna got it. Bam, got it. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. This was a call to the Israelites. If we invert that, okay? And we say, God is telling us to apologize. So if God is telling us to apologize and he will forgive, we don't have to tell people to apologize. We just need to do the forgiving because we know what the promise is from God, okay? Because the wickedness is not one way. When I'm insisting not to forgive, my wickedness is no different than the wickedness of the person who wronged me. And if I want my sin to be forgiven, and I want my land, my heart to be healed, then I need to adopt that same forgiveness. So the spirit of forgiveness tells us that we are present and we are living in the moment. Okay? So the first thing was the spirit of empathy. The second thing was the spirit of forgiveness. And the third thing, the spirit of sacrifice. Okay. If you don't hear anything I say tonight, I need it to be this, okay? I need it to be this. What is important about sacrifice in this world? What does sacrifice tell you about yourself? What does sacrifice tell you about yourself? Okay, maybe I'll back it up. Sorry, I'll get you in a second, Chris. Maybe we'll back it up. What do we think it means to sacrifice? Let's start there. What does it mean to sacrifice? Putting others' needs before my own. Can you tell me what that looks like to you, Mary? Whatever they need? Okay, I'm going to push you. So you're telling me then that if someone is taking so much from me that I have nothing inside of me, am I sacrificing or am I suffering? Yeah, there you go. Good job. Good job. I'm pushing you because you got to think about it, right? If we push ourselves and we empty ourselves, then God will fill. But God is also, I'm going to challenge that, God is also not going to just tell you, oh, okay, sure, continue to get yourself punched in the face, right? God does not tell you to keep looking. Even Christ asked the Pharisee or the soldier who struck him, what did I do that you hit me? Can you explain? Right? The sacrifice was that he died for all of them. But that was suffering. Okay? So sacrifice is emptying ourselves for others. What does sacrifice tell you about yourself? Go ahead, Chris. You love and care for the other person. Sure, I agree. What else does it tell you about yourself? What else does you being willing to sacrifice tell you about yourself? Make it simple. You being willing to sacrifice in your life tells yourself. You look in the mirror, you know what you say? I get it, God. I get it. I understand why you do what you do. Because I love other people more than myself. I understand that the key to my own happiness is the denial of myself. And the thing is, most of us realize this very late in life. And there's a reason why. We start to adopt this sacrificial nature when we're young because we're pure. And what are we taught? To share, to be kind, right? We're taught these things as young children. And then we have things happen to us in life where our sacrifice is spit on and where we suffer. And so what we do is we change the definition of sacrifice, that we do it for those that we love only. And you have to earn that love. That sounds nice in theory. But what are we really saying? That sacrifice is selective. It's not. Sacrifice is indiscriminate. But sacrifice has levels, right? Every person, depending on who they are in your life, deserves sacrifice. It's just, what does it mean to bend your heart for that person? When I say that I am present and I'm in my season with God, I get God, I get sacrifice. It comes natural to me. It comes natural. I'm willing to say, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be the loudest person at this party because other people feel like they never have a voice. Maybe I don't need to be the one that takes this person's attention, because I know that it's a distraction, a stumbling block for others. When I look internally, maybe I don't need to be around people that continue to pull me away from you, God. Sacrifice tells us that we know what it means to live for God and live like God. That's when we know we're present, when we really get it. Everybody can be selectively sacrificial. Everybody can do it. I like you, I'll give something up for you. Okay? Or, you know what? Tuesday at 4 p.m., I'm feeling pretty sacrificial. Let's do it. You buy somebody Chick-fil-A in the line, right? That's how these pay-it-forward things go in the drive-thru. You ever been the person that actually ends it? Me neither. I don't never do that. It's like such a peer pressure thing. You don't want to do it because they guilt you at the drive-up. They're like, "You're number 40." I'm like, "Oh, jeez, okay." Well, that person ordered 7, bacon cheeseburgers. I'm not feeling this right now. Anyway, I digress. Sacrifice. What is sacrifice for us? Sacrifice is a choice every day to die daily. It's a choice every day to die daily. To say, I'm going to consider the needs of the others and do what's best for everybody. Hear what I just said? Consider the needs of others and do what's best for everyone. Sometimes we think sacrifice is give, 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 and get nothing. Not how it works. Because if you operate that way, you become resentful. Because you feel you're being taken advantage of. So when you sacrifice, you consider the needs of others and do what's best for everyone. You have to be able to give cheerfully. Sacrifice cheerfully. And if you can't, then don't do it. Okay? Well, what do I mean? Does Abuna say if we're not super excited to, not to tithe, or super excited to stop drinking, or super excited to stop fooling around, with this person that we've been dating, that, we just don't even try? No. When I say a cheerful giver, what I mean is you understand that the cheer comes later. The joy comes later. If you have eyes to see that God will always bless what you give up, if you have eyes to see that, if you have a heart to experience that, that's what a cheerful giver is. You don't have to be excited in the moment. When I had to go through that drive-through thing and I paid, I was super mad. I was like, it's a freaking $16 and I was going on a dollar menu. This is awful. And then I get out of the line and I'm thinking to myself, was it really that bad? And then here's the kicker. I saw the car. It was a minivan. 3 kids. This is so cute. I'm like, that's pretty cool. 3 little kids are probably excited about their Happy Meals right now. Whatever. I should take it a nugget or something. My point is, you wake up consciously every day and you're willing to give, but you consider what it means. When I deny myself for God, for example, don't go cold turkey and just say, okay, God, I know that I don't pray, I know that I don't fast, I know that I don't read my Bible or go to liturgy, but guess what? Today, 15 matanyas in the morning, and at 2 p.m., I'm reading 3 chapters of the Bible, and that's what I'm going to do at 7. I'm going to read my Agbeya, and then I'm going to be at liturgy at 6 a.m., and I'm doing the whole thing over every single week. Good luck. That's not a cheerful giver. That's a dumb one. Okay? Because you have no idea what you're getting into. It's not sustainable. A cheerful giver, cheerful sacrifice is sustainable. It continues because it's incremental and it grows. Look at the sacrifices of Christ himself. Okay? The first sacrifice is coming to earth. And the second sacrifice is allowing himself to be nursed by a woman. The third sacrifice is allowing people to teach him how to be a human. The fourth sacrifice is allowing Mary and Joseph to complain about his decision to leave them and teach in the temple. He accepted criticism. And the sacrifice continued and continued. That he would touch the lepers. That he would redeem the adulterous woman. That he would give eyes to the blind. Each one is a sacrifice. He is God. He has no responsibility to do this. And it culminates in his crucifixion. Right? So to die to yourself daily is an incremental journey, which is why you have to be present every day. So you can chart your progress. You can see where you've been and where you've come from. If you confess with me and we talk about your spiritual canon, I always tell you, go slow, but whatever you say you're gonna do, do it, and do it consistently. Why? Because if you do it consistently, it feels good because you check it off. I'm keeping up. I can do this. And then bit by bit, you see results. And when you see results, you become addicted to success, and you chase it and chase it and chase it. And it's so funny because with the world, we chase success like this. And there's a law of diminishing returns. So after a while, it doesn't feel the same. But with God, there's a long way to heaven, bro. Every single step takes you higher. Every step. You build and build and build. And see that as kids and as adults and as parents and then as grandparents, how your sacrifice changes. As a kid, the only thing you think about is yourself. And then you kind of sort of think about your siblings and your friends. And then you get a little bit older, and then you think about your parents a little bit. Then you get married, and all you think about is your spouse. And then you have kids, and you think about your kids and your spouse. And then you think about your parents because you got to take care of them. And then you become a grandparent, and the only thing that matters in the world is that your kids and your grandkids are okay. Your sacrifice evolves over the course of your life because of incremental experiences and intimately giving of yourself. Intimate experiences of giving of yourself incrementally. Don't lose sight of this. You don't have to be perfect at sacrifice today, but you have to show up and try. That is the only way that you know that you are present in your season. It's the only way you know. Because God says to you, I just want to see it. I just want to see it. I want to see you try. That's how he knows you've shown up. And I'm going to give you the best example, which is my homie, St. Augustine. Why does it do that? Okay. This is the prayer of St. Augustine in the book of Confessions. This is his book where he talks about everything that he got wrong in his life. But he says, too late have I loved you, O beauty so ancient and new, O beauty so new. Too late have I loved you. You were within me, but I was outside of myself, and there I looked for you. And in my weakness, I ran after the beauty of the things you have made. And what does this tell us? That our lie that we tell ourselves is we pursue self-gratification, not sacrifice. But when St. Augustine realized that he pursued gratification and it took him nowhere, he then began to pursue sacrifice. And that's why he said, I learned about loving you too late. But you know what else he says as this goes on? You loved me from the beginning, even though I didn't love you. Which is what 1 John says. We love him because he first loved us. We sacrifice because he first sacrificed for us. When you know that you are mindful and present in your season, it is that you are sacrificing daily. That you are seeing that there are needs. There are people who are hurt. There are people who need to be seen, who need to be served, who need to be strengthened. And you run to that work. And you give what you can, not what you think you're supposed to. If you go slow but you give, you will always have opportunities to give more. But if you go too fast and you give too much, then you may resent the idea of giving, and you'll pull back. And then you lose the blessing because you forgot the season. So to sum it up, the three things that tell me I have chosen the life worth living. Number one, I choose the life of empathy. Number two, I choose the life of forgiveness. And number three, I choose the life of sacrifice. When I choose these things, my summer season is on fire. Understand what I'm telling you guys. Nobody can take away the fire that Christ lights in your heart when you listen to others, when you forgive, and when you empty yourself. No one can touch that, because you are so lost in him that you can't lose anything. You can't lose anything. You're not worried. You know every door will open when it needs to. And it's closed today because there's something in this room I need. Let me keep forgiving. Let me keep listening. And let me keep trying for others, that I may see what God wants to show me. This is how I change. This is how I transform. This is how I complete my seasons. And I am renewed and new in you. And glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Questions? All right. You know how this works. If we don't get no questions, then we go straight to takeaways. One thing you took away. Fire away.
So I was just kind of thinking about people pleasing a little bit, and I just wanted to ask about the difference.
I love that question, Mary. The difference between sacrifice and people pleasing. Remember that I said you consider the needs of others and do what's best for everyone? When you think about what it means to people please, you're not considering everybody. You're not considering yourself. And here's the scary one. You're not considering God. You're not considering God. I'm going to say something that's not fun to hear, but sometimes God needs people to be uncomfortable in their spot in order to be saved. Okay? So Isaac right now is doing this thing where when he comes home, because at daycare he's like forced to eat his food with his spoon, he comes home and like wants us to feed him all the time. So he's like, no, Mommy, you do it. No, Daddy, you do it. And it's like, I am feeding you cereal and milk every single day, kid. Are you freaking kidding me? And finally one day I was like, you gotta do it on your own. Yeah! Meltdown, whole thing, ready to throw the cereal and milk. I have to stick it to the table so he doesn't knock it over. Sure enough, dinner, I do it myself. Grabs his fork and starts to eat. Don't worry, I didn't tell Mary. I told you, so I didn't do that. But what is the point? God sometimes lets us get uncomfortable in order to grow. And when we choose to sacrifice for those in a way that isn't from God, you know, call it saving them from themselves, so to speak, doing things for them, and we say we're sacrificing of ourselves for them, they're not learning anything. That's why everyone has to be considered. Happens a lot in families and with good friends, where there's somebody who can usually skate by and convince other people to do their stuff for them. And that person never really benefits from being forced to be uncomfortable and figure something out. And then the people around them become resentful. You're lazy. You're this, you're that. It's like, do we not realize we enabled this person for 10 years? Everybody missing that point? Right? Sorry to say it happens with younger siblings most of the time. Just kidding. Not really. It does happen with younger siblings. Y'all are spoiled. Kick rocks. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thanks. can you talk more on like how to not fall into the trap of sacrificing solely for what God can give me rather than just simply loving him?
Okay, I get where you're going with that. So sacrificing conditionally, almost like if I do this, God gives me, versus sacrificing for him. Okay, so I'm going to say something that's semi-controversial. Big surprise, right? Conditional sacrifice is not wrong, okay? It's not wrong. It's not wrong to sacrifice on the condition that God give me something. Now, what you don't realize is God may say, great, 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 you sacrificed because you wanted this thing. I'm still not giving it to you, right? And then you might get mad at God. So most of the time, the reason conditional sacrifice sucks is because of the fact that if you don't get the conditions met, you get resentful toward God, right? But on the other side, when I sacrifice because I love God, how do I get there? There's an element of conditionality in that. But what's the condition? The condition is, God, I need to feel your peace. That is why I have not throat punched this person for the horrible things that they have done to me. I need to have your long suffering. That's the condition of me holding my tongue. I need to have your self-control. That's the condition of me resisting my lust. I need to have your fruits cultivated inside of me. Set that condition with God. You better. God, if I'm going to sacrifice, you better change me. You better make me a better human. That one, he'll be like, deal. And he'll do it. But the person who has the conditions with God about temporal things, well, God, if I resist porn, bring me a wife. Make it this one. I found her on the gram. No. You can try. Good luck. Don't be mad when you don't get what you want. God, if I study and give up all this stuff so that I can, go to this school, I need to go to Harvard. Waitlisted. God, if I fast and pray for a year, you'll give me, you'll make this illness go away from my family member. You hope. You can set that condition. You might not get what you want. You might. God listens to the broken heart, right? He does. But just because he listens doesn't mean he does what you say you want him to do when you want him to do it. Which is why at the end of every prayer, and I tell this to a lot of my sons and daughters, especially when it comes to relationships. You can ask for the relationship, but at the end of the prayer, say, God, I want this person in my life, but let it be according to your will, and give me the courage to accept that. Very different. This is true sacrifice. Okay? So it's okay to have conditions with God that are temporal. You might be disappointed. And it's an expectation that you have conditions with God sacrificially when it comes to virtues and fruits of the Spirit, because you need to be transformed by your experiences. I sacrifice my whole life so God turns me into someone better than I am, because who I am today isn't enough to get me home. And that's where I want to go. Great question, Beck. Questions, comments, concerns? Yep.
So if you forgive somebody, does that mean your relationship should go back to how it was before?
Sorry, if you forgive somebody, one more time?
Yeah, so like if somebody does something to hurt you and then you're supposed to forgive them, does that mean your relationship should go back to how it was before?
If you want to be abused, sure, of course. I'm just kidding. But on the real, yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like that's why we said forgiveness and reconciliation. Abunabulis is the one that taught me this. I can't even take credit. He's the one that's taught me this. That forgiveness and reconciliation are different. When I forgive, what I say is whatever debt you owed me, all right? Whatever thing that you did to me that I need you to give back to me, you need to give back something to me, I no longer want that transaction. So let's say Abuna Augustine comes walking into church and you see me walking in and I'm late and you trip me and I fall on my face in front of everybody and everyone laughs at me and I'm mad at you. And how do I know I've forgiven you? I no longer am going to demand that you're going to come up here and tell everyone that you're the one that tripped me and that, no, Abuna's not clumsy, he's just dumb, but that's not the situation. It was my fault, whatever, right? I don't want that anymore. You tell me I messed up, and I'm like, cool, we're good. Dab it up. We move past it. But the next time I walk in, if I'm seeing you standing in the same sit in the same chair, and I start walking, say, she would never again. No, man, get out of my face. I'm going to kick you before you kick. No, I'm kidding. I'll go around, right? What's the point? The point is I'm not going to allow you to do the same thing to me until you show me you've changed. Maybe I walk by you slow, right? Because I'm scared. And then 5-6 times later, I'm like, okay, maybe she's not that bad anymore. You know, it's been like 40 days. Maybe she realizes that was a bad idea to take the guy with a bum Achilles out, you know? Come on. I'm just recovering. I'm back out of the boot. Let me live my life. But you get my point. The point is always, do not think that forgiveness means you have to go back to normal. Now, I want to be clear about something, because this is what happens, is everybody thinks it's a blanket statement. Your parents and your sibling are not the same as Yani Habibi that you've been kicking it with for 6 months, okay? Friends are not family. So this whole thing about forgiveness versus reconciliation with family, it looks different. Maybe I don't share the deepest, darkest, most intimate thing with my sibling again because they posted on a live stream of, Canonia, whatever, but, which I've probably done at least once. But I'm still going to function with you in a close environment. We're still family, okay? A friend, you can put more boundaries. And actually, this is, if you attended our boundary series, that's a big thing we talked about, was how to set boundaries based on the levels of your relationships, okay? So if anyone misheard me, let me clarify. You do not set the same boundaries with family that you do with friends when it comes to forgiveness and reconciliation. Because the other thing is that your family has a proven track record of showing you that they love you. One that goes deeper than anything you can see. There is a mystic sacrament that weaves all of you together. They took an oath for you in the baptism. They ensured that you were chrismated and that you took communion, and they promised to raise you in the faith, in addition to every other physiological need they take care of. So no, we don't treat them like, your friend that you met 6 months ago. That's a different kind of level that you have to get to for reconciliation. With family, we're more patient, we're more forgiving, we're more understanding, and we're more targeted about what we limit, right? I was telling Mom about my day every single day when I was 5 years old. My mom calls and says, how's your day? If I tell her about every single confession I had and what was talked about, she's going to blush. We ain't doing that no more, right? So it changes. Okay, good question. Questions, comments, concerns? We good? We good. All right, let's pray. Stand up. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, one God, amen. We thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for the blessing of our fellowship. Lord, our season is now. It is our time. It is our time to know you. It is our time to accept our suffering and to realize you're going to transform us through it. It's our time to be thankful for everything in our lives. It's our time to laugh. It's our time to live. It's our time to empty ourselves. It's our time to listen to others. It's our time, Lord, to forgive. Give us the spirit of the season, Lord. Give us the spirit of the season. Because when the spirit of the season sits on our hearts, then you have seized us, and your fire lights our way. I ask you, Lord, to watch over everyone here tonight. Guide them, guard them, keep them all the days of their lives. Any problems, issues, ailments, illnesses, struggles that they are going through, Lord, help them to get through them and to trust in your timing and your delivery from all things. And Lord, watch over our father, Abu Nabulas, help him to shepherd the flock in peace according to your word. And remember the servants for this blessed service. Reward them 100,000-fold for their labor. We thank you for everything, concerning everything and everything. Amen. Through the intercessions of St. Mary, the prayers of St. Monica, St. Augustine, all the saints and martyrs who have served you since the beginning, and the blessings of the Coptic New Year. Hear us as we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation,